Okay, and hello, and welcome to the Slam Jam Wrestling Show here on the Extreme Improv Extremes YouTube channel and the Slam Jam Wrestling Show YouTube channel. Go to www.youtube.com/@Slam Jam Wrestling Show. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. And with that, today we're going to have some fun and games. We're going to discuss some wrestling. What a strange occurrence that would be on this show. And with me, joining me today, I am David Postansky, by the way. We have another David, Dave Green. Say hello to the people.
Hello people, yes, I'm back finally with my mad hair, which has been cutting off by the blurred background feature on Zoom, which is always fun. So if you want to see my head look ever so slightly like Max Headroom, then you're in luck.
Well, there you go. That's if they're like watching the visual version, because they may just be listening to the audio edition of this.
We have an audio edition of this?
It's been a thing for a long time. Like, I don't always remember to upload every episode, but I try to. I try to be good. Sometimes I'm like,
for a while, you just never hear it.
Yeah, like if it's been like missing for a couple of weeks, just check the YouTube channel; it'll be there. But Dave, what has been going on in the world of wrestling that has captured your attention recently?
I mean, it depends. It depends on whether or not we've been.
I'm really warm.
Have we done a show since Mania?
I don't know that we have actually. Yeah. Well, there's been Mania. There's the announcement of All In. Apparently, yeah, like all sorts of people are now All Elite. They announced that Commander, however it's pronounced, is All Elite now. And
Commander or something.
Commander, there you go. But like the weird thing with it is, like, obviously he's super talented and why shouldn't he get signed? But the idea, I put this on Twitter earlier, the idea of sort of being announced as All Elite doesn't really sound that elite anymore when the roster's about 400 people. So
it's also about how the perception of the debut as well, isn't it? I mean, there was the one we haven't chatted about it already on the show, but when Jay White debuted a couple of weeks ago, and obviously he's the hot free agent and gone to New Japan for about a month or so, and obviously how he's going to go to WWE, he's going to go to AEW, and they debut him in AEW as Juice Robinson's lackey,
yeah,
or sidekick. It was like, here's a former, very recent IWGP champion and quite a big name that's left New Japan and decides to debut him in a feature where he looks more like, for the casual viewer, he looks more like Juice's tag partner rather than the leader of the Bullet Club or whatever it is that they're supposed to be. There's something, I mean, I'm not the biggest Jay White fan in the world, but, you know, I do recognise he's a name and a lot of people were excited about him. It's sort of, it just seems to be another guy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I won't give like spoilers of things, but if you've not seen Dynamite, but it was like, I think announced in advance, it would be Commander or however it is against Jay White, and it was interesting what happened. I won't spoil it too much.
Yeah, sorry if I've not seen it yet. So
no, all fair. Another thing which I'll say, which isn't a spoiler, but it's a comment I have. Look, I'm trying to make my hat straight. It's not going the right way. It's going a bit Norman Wisdom like to one side. What do you think of the current storyline they're doing in the world title picture of AEW? They've got the four pillars, which after, like, is this the 4th year anniversary of AEW now? It's like, well, they're finally doing something with all four of them in a world title program. I feel like none of them are coming across like world championship material.
I did see Dynamite was opening this week, so I know
okay.
There's this little mini tournament thing happening, but which seems strange. I thought if they're going to do that with the three of them and then fighting for a position to challenge MJF, I thought maybe like a round robin tournament would have been a better way to go. You know, have them each wrestle each other and whoever gets the most wins goes wins.
Well, yeah, okay. So if you have seen that, we can specifically comment on it. I thought that segment in particular kind of was, they were all burying themselves and each other. Like, if you've got people that Darby's a face, Jungle Boy's a face, and they were ripping into each other like, oh, you're not a good guy backstage. These kids in the audience with your face paint on, you know, they don't know that you're rude. It's like, why are you burying this guy?
You're unfriendly.
Yeah.
That was a cutting jab, wasn't it?
Yeah. And just go on.
It seems to me that they're just not focused on having one challenger this time around. They've suddenly realised, well, we had Bryan Danielson challenging, and now we sort of have to go a different route with him, and we have no one that's a massively top level to challenge MJF for the moment, so let's just throw in all three of them and see if we can get something out of it. And I think the only one it looks relatively good has been Darby, in terms of the promos at least. Because he just seems a bit more real. He seems a bit more like natural with it and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm not saying that the barbs he's throwing against Jungle Boy and things like that were bad, but I quite liked last week's one where he was talking about the happiness and saying, at the end of the day, you're not happy. And I'm not saying I would be happy, and it's sort of like it's more like a modern take on sort of like what makes a modern day good guy as such, because he's sort of being open and leaving himself to be vulnerable and things like that, which I think is quite important these days to sort of have that visibility in that sort of respect.
Yeah, no, that's I don't disagree with that at all. My only thought again on what like I've seen today with that opening segment with the promo is that to me it felt like Darby was like losing what he was supposed to say. It felt like it was crumbling during his promo. He spoke for quite a long time before it then went to Jungle Boy, and then like eventually Sammy Guevara came in and gave it a bit more charisma. Jungle Boy really doesn't have much. I don't know, I just felt like the whole segment was weak, and then just MJF coming out and saying that confusing thing, we're going to have a tournament, one of you's going to get a bye. And when it was Darby Allin, he's like, yes, I'm so pleased. It's like, you don't seem like a fighting champion. You've just got like the easy escape, and you're so chuffed to bits with it.
That's a very good point, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's like, you think like John Cena's like, I'm going to defend this US championship every week because I'm a fighting champion, and there's Darby Allin. It's like, you don't have to wrestle tonight. Yes!
Well, to be fair, he's probably thinking, oh, thank God for that, I have to take a stupid bump this week. That's fantastic.
Yeah, maybe. Well, although he likes it.
Should have got some pom-poms out and just thrown them at each of them.
Pom-poms?
Pom-pom, remember that thing last week?
Oh, right, yeah.
That just started hitting MJF with them.
Oh, my,
like, what's going on?
Yeah,
it's flawed, because I just think there's it'd be better if it was more focused on one of them rather than all of them. And like I say, I'm sure all four of them are going to somehow end up in this match anyway.
Oh yeah, there's no way that this isn't going to be anything less than a four pillars four-way match.
Yeah, literally a four pillars match. There'll be pillars holding up something above the ring.
Yeah, I like it.
That's the last one to get out of the way before the thing falls across.
Oh no, like if you had to design what a four pillars match is, doesn't it sound like a little bit like a scaffolding match? Or maybe an their version of an Ultimate X or something. I don't know.
Or something like the old Last Rites match from TNA, Sting and Abyss. That thing with
I forget how that worked.
The crumbling gravestones and things like that.
No, I've completely either I missed that or I've blanked that one.
Then good for you.
Wow. What do you make of All In? Like you said, we perhaps haven't had a show since Mania to discuss stuff on that. We can get to that soon, and things on the WWE side, but All In is coming to Wembley of all places.
Yeah, it's very adventurous, I think, to go for that first UK show. But I mean, it depends on what I suppose looks best. Really, there's sort of like, I think with any stadium show, even if you don't sell it out, it can still look good on TV and things like that, depending on what they can do in terms of topping areas off and things like that. I mean, I could imagine there's a scenario where people who will naturally go for the cheapest tickets are going to somehow find themselves on a better seating anyway, and things like that. They'll say, well, we already got this much, so we need to bring people.
That's entirely my plan, Dave.
Yeah.
Are you planning to get to it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no rush I'm interested in a minute, so that's, so definitely. But I do hear like people talking on Twitter and everything else saying, oh, they need a UK star, they need someone to get the tickets thing, and people saying, oh, Drew McIntyre might be free while there, maybe he'll sell tickets. It's like, no, man, come on. It's if people want to watch AEW, they want to watch AEW. They don't want, it's not there for what who big UK star needs to be there. It could just be.
I mean, like with Clash at the Castle last year, it made sense to use McIntyre because McIntyre was there. He was a former world champion, been out of the picture for a little bit. And, and people really genuinely believed that, oh, this is going to have all the hype, he's going to do it. But AEW, who are their English stars? There's Pac, obviously, who's a heel in a in a trio tag team. There's who else is English in AEW?
Jamie Hayter and
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That'll probably be the title match. To be honest, that'll probably be the title match.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But I can't think, like, are they going to suddenly be bringing in Harry Smith, or Nick Aldis just re-debuted for TNA, which shows that his leaving NWA kind of was just leaving, and he didn't have any plan going forward.
I suppose bringing in Harry Smith just to just do a running power slam obviously I think it's August 27th, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that was the day of SummerSlam 92.
Oh, I need to fact check that, Dave. That's
27th, 28th. I just had that date burned on my memory for some reason. It's either 27th, 28th. But that'd be quite, I don't know, just as a fun moment. But I have no desire to see Harry Smith wrestle on the card. Yeah, he's not his dad. Sorry, but he's all right, but he's not. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing him do something there. They for the debut, like, Double or Nothing show, Bret Hart was there. I was at Clash at the Castle last year, obviously, and Bret Hart was in the audience, but the live feed that they announced Bret Hart, and we couldn't see Bret Hart as we were sat there. So,
August 29th.
29th.
I'll touch that. It'll be interesting. They don't need it. If they have some sort of interesting sort of story and some sort of match to get there. I've heard some people on the podcast sort of make the case that it could be MJF versus Sting.
Wow.
Match.
Yeah. The only thing with that is if MJF's still world champion, which he may or may not be.
He will be.
Well, yeah, of course. He's probably not going to lose it until at least All Out, realistically, because he could lose it at Double or Nothing, but I don't think so with the three opponents that we're looking at. So, All Out, I believe, is going to be like a week later. So this does, to me, there's the unfortunate... Well, here's the thing. So if you say Sting, yeah, I think I might be wrong about that, but let's have a look at the date.
I hadn't even thought about the fact that
AEW All Out 2023. Let's see when it is. Pay-per-view schedule.
That's the theory, because I still argue that Sting and Darby should be challenging the tag titles at some point, because they're actually an undefeated team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I don't know if I've got... I don't know if... I think this is what I read, but I don't know if they've confirmed it yet. Oh, hang on, here it is. Venue to... doesn't say the date. Assumed September. But yeah, so they're going to do All In. A week later or 2 weeks later, they're going to do All Out. So, in that sense, if they were thinking of using Sting in that position, imagine if they had Sting win it just so that he'll drop it a week later. It'd be that nice thing. Sting is popular in the UK, but otherwise, if Sting's going into that match, we already know the result going in, that he's not walking out with the championship.
Yeah, this is a way of saying having Sting do his last match in front of a massive crowd, none of that.
Yeah.
So it would just be a moment.
If it's not MJF, who should his last opponent be?
Darby.
I don't even know if I'm interested in seeing that.
I think that's just the way that it would go. It's just be the other thing of this is the guy now. I want to put him over, or that could be the way they just go with it. But I'd rather see that than say bring in
Ric Flair. Yeah, I don't know.
No, Flair would be up for that. He'd be like,
yeah,
let me put the drums in again, brother. Woo!
I can just if it was WWE though doing that, then obviously it's like Kurt Angle. They gave him Baron Corbin. They just give someone terrible, and actually this has been the thing in the news over the last few days. Apparently Goldberg is a bit annoyed, saying he had a handshake agreement with Vince that he would get a retirement match, and they've not done it.
There's still time. It's if he wants to do it, why is it just that? I mean, to be fair to him, Vince has been a bit busy.
Well, to be honest.
What do you think going on, Restrict? I don't know if Goldberg's been following the news.
This might be a negotiation thing, because one of the things I remember right back when AEW began is Goldberg was following AEW or Tony Khan or something like this, but I think he was following AEW, and there was like, oh, are they going to sign him? And quite possibly he did like Randy Orton and others, and just used that to get himself a better deal re-signed by WWE. And this, he might be doing the exact same thing again by going on social media saying, because I even saw a thing where Goldberg was saying, you know, like if he has to organise it himself, like 4 dates or something. It's like Goldberg isn't doing four matches in a week or 2 weeks or a month. He isn't doing 4 matches in a year.
He could do. I mean, what? 4 matches? That's what, 5 minutes work?
Yeah, well, that's at least 4 matches.
4 spears, 4 jackhammers.
That's what I was going to say. Going by his usual matches over the last few years, that's going to be at least like 11 spears that he's going to have to do.
Oh, so hypothetically, if you did turn up in AEW and did the 4 matches and then a retirement match, okay, who's this retirement match?
I don't know. Like storyline wise, someone people probably say to pair him up with would be Wardlow. But, you know, just again to make Wardlow. But I don't think Goldberg's going to go to AEW just to put someone over.
No, I don't think that Goldberg's taking a powerbomb Symphony.
No. Like,
I'm taking 1 powerbomb, let alone 8.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. Like, who else is interesting? Like, you think Goldberg versus Powerhouse Hobbs, Goldberg, you know,
Brian Cage. It's the muscle bound
Brian
guys.
Cage, Lance Archer. It's all just like the big guys. Big Bill. Oh my god, I even forgot he existed. But yeah, I don't know. So okay, let's skip over a slightly towards WWE, and like let's catch up with things from WrestleMania. What were your thoughts on Mania overall?
It's okay. Just everything. It's just a bit of a shame that Vince's fingerprints are back all over it again, and what interest I sort of regained back in it 6 months ago is sort of waning again. So it's just like, you know, it's fine. I've been spoiled with most of the stuff over Mania because I was a bit busy, so I didn't really see it all sort of live all the next day or anything. So everything sort of knew it happened. I did laugh when I heard about the Cody Rhodes match. I just kind of laughed at first just because I thought they're ending this reign. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I do kind of go with the idea that I guess you can't really have him just come through and just come out of nowhere and just immediately beat.
Do you know what? Like, can't you though? Like, something that annoys me, Dave, is that I see like Twitter. Like, obviously, a few years ago, it wasn't. Obviously, Twitter's been around for actually a while now, which is weird because it still feels like a new thing. But like, there was a time before Twitter and a time before, like, even when there were like message forums and that. It's not like it currently is. But it just seems like there's weird like ideas that get spread around, and this one that's been said since Cody lost about he hasn't faced adversity. When has anyone ever said stuff like that about any wrestler or any wrestling storyline ever in the history before this? And yet suddenly now everyone, they have to face adversity before they get a world title or something. It's like, it's nonsense.
I think Cody's muscles would have you believe that he has faced adversity since they ripped from his body for a fair bit.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a weird thing where, like, I can't remember. It was like Busted Open or something like this, and I heard like Bully Ray and whoever on there, Mark Henry and whatever the non-wrestler guy is, and they were like, Bully Ray was like, but what? How would have Dusty booked it? And Mark Henry was like, oh my, like that's genius. And it's like so even if Dusty, but Dusty was booking stuff. And he'd book himself still into like main events and that, and then he never made himself a long reigning world champion. But I'm pretty sure that if Dusty was booking that match there for that Mania, he would have put Cody over.
I mean, I guess is that what they said? Was that because I missed the Busted Open? So
yeah.
I have no idea what they.
Well, yeah, they were like, yeah, it's like
if it was probably Dusty, they probably would have had Cody like win it, and then like, oh, hold on, no, we need to reverse the decision. The match continues.
Well, yeah, possibly. But yeah, like, I don't know. For me, that like it was similar to Drew McIntyre a few months ago. Similar again to Sami Zayn a couple of months ago. They keep getting these perfect storylines, these perfect moments, and then they leave it on Roman. And the thing is, I've got nothing against Roman and the bloodline and everything, because it's been on fire, that whole thing, for like a year and a half. It's been the best part of the show. Quite possibly because Heyman's got his fingerprints all over it. But it's working, and at some point it'll stop working. But I'm not against Roman holding it and breaking a few more records. Like, I don't know if they could find a way to separate the two world championships, then I'd say let Roman hold it for another 4 years or whatever he needs to. Like, do it, because no one will. They, you know, if they take the belt off him, if they ever think, well, is that record going to be broken? They've got like another 2.5 years before they even get back to this stage. So they've gone all in now. I'll just leave the belt on him. Find a way to take one off of him, and yeah.
Yeah, arguably that's what they should have done at Mania and had Cody challenge for one belt and Sammy's challenge for the other belt the other night.
Yeah.
Arguably what they should have done. But.
And like, what's happening? Like, because I'm slightly like I've been away. I was in Belgium like a week ago and stuff like this. WWE, was it announced? Have I made this up, or have they already done it? Have they done this draft yet? They haven't, or have they?
They haven't done the draft, no. I was about to ask you about that. Who cares about the solid draft? It doesn't even matter.
Well,
they don't even obey it themselves, for God's sake.
This is what I was going to say, though. Is this the ace up their sleeve to say, well, there's a draft, so we need to have, and like, where's our world champion? If we're just on this show, says Monday Night Raw, we need to have a world champion. And so they'll have to, then they turn to Roman and say, well, you're going to have to like defend it, like the belt separately.
The whole point of being undisputed champion, wasn't it? That they just, he was just like, he was going to be the champion of both brands and the whole thing. So why would they do the unification in the first place?
Yeah.
It's like, I know they put themselves in a bit of a corner with the whole injury with Big E and everything like that, but with Lesnar having to win the Rumble and then Chamber and all this other bollocks to get to that match, but. It's one of these things where I think if you have Roman lose, he's got to lose outright and lose both belts, because otherwise it's just like, oh yeah, the caveat is he's still got this title. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. So his undefeated record done. So it needs to be both titles done, and he's done for a bit, and then they have to take stock of everything and the whole bloodline crumbling storyline as well. And
yeah, I mean. Like I mostly agree with that. The only thing it makes me kind of think of is like a year and a half ago, whenever it was, that Kenny Omega was like the belt collector storyline, and he had to start losing them because he was injured, and they had to like start taking belts off of him. And when he lost like the Impact Championship to Christian, and then a few weeks later retained the AEW title, we knew that Christian wasn't going to take that there, and we knew that he was just kind of like keeping it warm for Hangman. And if Kenny hadn't been like injured and needed time off, then maybe there would have been the possibility that he would have kept one or both or all of the championships he had longer. But I think when someone starts losing a championship, then you start to see things fall apart. And interestingly, like with the Usos losing the tag belts, I think everyone thought, okay, they're going to lose the tag belts, so of course Roman has to lose the world, and then he didn't.
Well, that's the other thing as well. I've seen some people, I sort of whose opinions I do kind of trust and respect. I've seen some people saying that the whole time that it should never have been Sammy, it should never have been Cody, the guy who should be taking the title off him is Jay.
Yeah.
The whole thing started with Jay. The whole thing started with him being not a rebel, but sort of not falling into line, and then having to fall into line, and has been sort of had to fall into line all this time, and that would be the thing that finally, when the bloodline does finally crumble, it's Jay that does it, and it's him that ends up becoming the head of the table, as it were, and going sort of full circle with that, which arguably is a good idea. I would say it would make sense in terms of the years-long storyline that's been now.
I think there's a possibility that still may happen.
Yeah.
The only like slight thing which made me skeptical about it is like a day after Mania, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did some video where he said about, and maybe I'll get back in the ring soon, and I was like, well, okay, so we know why Roman retained the belt.
Do we know I don't think he's coming back to wrestling.
You don't think we don't?
No, I don't think he will.
I think he will.
That would be the stupidest thing if it's him that comes back and beats Roman. That would be ridiculous.
But like, just imagine, so The Rock versus Roman next year at Mania, and Roman still retains. Like, you could drive the audience like absolutely insane with like there is no one. If The Rock can't even win it, then who?
The Rock's not wrestled for what, 10 years? Of course, logical to take that.
Yeah, no, look, we saw Rock and Roman in the ring together, and like there's even a storyline there where The Rock just looked disgusted to be stood next to him. It's like, you're bringing me down. Yeah, like it's like, is this the guy sort of thing, but like.
Yeah, and then I brought you into my movie, and you were so bad we couldn't give you any dialogue.
Oh my god, that was like the wildest thing when I saw it. It's like he didn't say a word. And have you noticed that phenomenon where wrestlers are in movies and they don't have any lines at all? Like, I think...
That's a good side tangent. Okay, what's your favourite wrestler movie sort of moment? There, I think in terms of like one-liners and things like that, I think Undertaker in Suburban Commando is pretty fun.
Do you remember the line?
Something about Ramsey. I can't remember what he said.
You're a dead man, Ramsey. Is that no wonder you guys don't talk? Yeah. No, so I don't know. That's a good tangent. Like Kevin Nash in The Punisher as like a big Russian dude. You know,
I haven't seen the full film. I've seen Kevin Nash recently. My fiance and I went to see a theatre production of the musical Rock of Ages.
Yeah, and Kevin Nash was in it.
And we decided to watch the film version of it, which has got Tom Cruise as a rocker, and his entourage is made of 2 bodyguards. One of whom is Kevin Nash.
That's insane.
And Kevin Nash has a singing line of dialogue in that bit.
Wow.
Tom Cruise is singing "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi, and he does the part where he goes "Wanted," and the 2 guys, including Nash, go "Wanted." And that's it. That's a single line of dialogue in the whole thing. Him just going "Wanted."
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a terrible movie. Don't watch it.
No, I saw the stage show and I thought it wasn't that good.
It's not great. It's fun, but it's not great. But the film's worse.
Yeah.
Much worse.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, what? Okay, so what is like Roddy Piper? People always say about They Live with Roddy Piper, like the John Carpenter film. I think it's all right. I like the concept, but I don't think Piper's necessarily that great in it.
I saw Terry Funk in something recently. What was he?
Wow.
Doing something. He was in the 80s. He did quite a few films. Terry Funk. He's in things like Roadhouse and things like that. Must have been it, actually.
Yeah, I've never seen Roadhouse.
And he does like takes like proper like he does proper punches and fighting scenes and things like that. And obviously, being a wrestler, he knows how to throw the punches and how to land.
Oh, do you know? Well, that's the other thing. It's like, and I probably struggle to think of examples, but definitely this happened for The Rock early in his career. Like in his acting career, you get a wrestler in something and they just end up doing their signature move somehow. So it's like The Rock's in a film and he does a rock bottom or someone, and he suddenly turns around and it's people's eyebrow and stuff like this. It's like, why are you putting like this is slightly off the topic of wrestling in total. I don't quite know how these things happened. Like, even with Arnold Schwarzenegger saying I'll be back in every film, how did that ever happen? How did that evolve to be a thing? It's so weird that they're like, I'm going to put that same line from that other film you were in it. And it's like, oh, who's going to play this? You know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, wrestler. Let's make it script in that he's going to raise his eyebrow. It's weird.
One of the things to do on the day, and what's your thing? The director goes, what's your thing? It's like, I raise my eyebrow. Let's set the piss out of that a little bit then.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Bit of a tangent there, but
yeah, okay.
What do you think, viewers and listeners? What's your favourite wrestler in movie moment?
Yeah, like put it in the comments, guys. But other than that, what else do you like at Mania? What did you think was the best match? Did you think that Charlotte and Rhea should have been the main event rather than Usos, Sammy, and KO?
No, I think Sammy and KO deserved the main event in the end, but I think arguably, Charlotte and Rhea put on a very good match, and I'll give it to sort of like say either way on that. But I think they got it right. I think the story determined that they needed to have the main event that night, and I'm happy that they did. As the match goes, I don't know. I felt a bit bad for Finn Balor and Edge, obviously, with everything that happened to Finn, but sort of every cloud, silver lining situation. At least it wasn't a 30+ minute match with Edge this year. It's that call to the match that they had to like go right. We need to finish this match quite swiftly.
Yeah. That was so surreal during, like, at the beginning of the pandemic, WrestleMania that year, that Orton and Edge had a 30 to 40 minute match with zero audience and, you know, and then, like, the greatest wrestling match of all time and everything they've done with, like, Edge. Like, and that's, like, such a case of how they, like, fumbled things, because obviously Edge then getting into a main event and, like, a main event to challenge Roman, somehow they end up putting Daniel Bryan in it. And it was just that was a Mania where all of the pieces were wrong. Like,
yeah, I don't have a huge amount of recollection of the sort of lead up to that. Just suddenly just found reading. I was like, oh, it's a triple threat now for some reason.
Yeah. Obviously, Sheamus, McIntyre, and Gunther.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
that was down. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, overall, I thought it was like a very solid WrestleMania in that what was good was really good.
In ring, it was both nights were very strong.
Yeah. The thing that we should mention about, if we haven't done it on the show, is the return of Shane McMahon, which obviously
You blinking, you missed it.
it was so wild though. Like, what was their original plan?
I was saying this, but I was laughing so much when it happened. I had heard that it happened, but I didn't know how quickly it happened.
Yeah.
So I came down to watching it and then doing it on a leapfrog, and I didn't realise that was the thing that did it. I was like, oh, for God's sake. And Snoop Dogg sort of coming in and just punching Miz in the face.
Like, but from Miz's perspective, he's like, he just had a 1 minute match and got beaten by a non-wrestler who wasn't in the match. It's like, when he goes to the ring, even if Snoop, they'd got the plan, oh, Snoop, you're going to get in, you're going to punch him, you're going to do a people's elbow, and then Shane's going to pin him. Now he's laying there, and maybe he's like, this is great, but I'd be laying there thinking, I'm getting beaten in 30 seconds by a guy that's not a wrestler at Mania, which I once main evented.
I wasn't even shaking it in the pin. Oh, Snoop just got the pin.
Yeah, they were like, just do it.
Hang on, what?
Yeah, it's like there was zero logic to it. But at the same time, because I think there's been a clip that's come out since where, like, there's like the cameraman that's like punch him or people's elbow, and the referee shouted something. So, but like Snoop did what he needed to do when he needed to do it, because otherwise it would have just been a very. Because even when you just see the Miz going around the ring, he's like, what do I do? And at one point he kind of clocks the camera. You know, he's like, I don't know what to do now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Surely.
The night before with Pat McAfee as well. So I mean, if this is the trend now, we're going to have like bonus matches like suddenly being made and things like that. Yeah. Like last year with Vince and Pat McAfee and there's all other.
Well, last year we got a bonus match of Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, that was sort of being alluded to at least, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We just had this random thing with the 70-year-old man that everyone's sort of going, oh my God, no, Pat, don't challenge him. He's Vince McMahon, you're like a former professional footballer who's like still in his physical prime. But Vince McMahon's like, man, no, he's tough, he's mad. Don't run into his clotheslines, whatever you do. Oh, he did.
I really don't ever want to see Pat McAfee do a backflip off the top rope and land on his feet ever again. Other than perhaps he does it in every single match. The only exception would be when suddenly there was the bonus match of him versus Vince, because he had done it against Austin Theory last year. But every single match, even this one against The Miz, he goes up and he backflips off the top rope and lands on his feet. Every single time. Like, it's just like, I hate when someone's got like something cool they can do and they think, oh, I'm just going to do it in every single match.
It's not like Pat McAfee wrestles every week, is it? It just pulls it up for.
Nah. Well, it's even like Rey Mysterio and Dominic was great, by the way.
That was true. That was pantomime at its best. That was.
Oh, I loved that match. Everything about it.
Dominic surprised me so much since his turn.
Yeah.
He's really the whole. I think I've said it on the show before. But the whole him being just doing this whole ex-con thing and just from being in jail for one night.
Yeah. That
just playing off that it's really good fun, and it's a silly idea, but he's just all the Judgment Day just playing off that so well.
Yeah, I wonder how they actually came to that idea, because they obviously it wasn't even shot for TV. I think it was just on their Facebook page or something, where he goes round and he attacks Mysterio at Thanksgiving. Then they do it, but this time he gets arrested at Christmas. And then the idea of well, you got arrested, so what happens if we now act like you've seen life behind bars? It's such a great storyline. And then obviously for Mania, for his entrance, he was escorted out in handcuffs, wearing the mask.
Which, as a little fun fact, if anyone actually knows about it, one of the cops that accompanied him, the one that was leading the pack, the guy with the short hair and the goatee, he's a wrestler called Dan Barry.
Okay.
And his whole gimmick as well, his whole gimmick and his independent stuff, is that he's a wrestler who thinks he's a cop.
That's brilliant.
No, don't look like that, David. It's hilarious. He's very funny. He's very good, very funny.
Yeah.
And this whole thing comes out in the Hawaiian shirts and the shorts and things like that. It's like out of a buddy cop movie.
Wow, that's cool.
To see him playing a policeman got a big laugh out of me just for that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's finally achieved his dream. He's a policeman in the Wrestling Federation.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if there's any breaking news or stuff going on. Apparently here we've got Ted DiBiase Jr. faces multiple felony charges in Mississippi welfare fraud. I think we've been hearing stuff about the DiBiases for years, to be honest.
Yeah, they came out recently, didn't they? All three of them, Ted and Ted Senior and one of the other brothers.
It's just the irony. This storyline is being accused of misappropriating millions of dollars. The $1 million man, he's literally just turned into Scrooge. Wow. I don't know. We'll see if there's any other stuff. It's been slightly a slow time since Mania, basically.
It's yeah, I think I've read yeah. Hopefully not. It won't be too bad. But Eddie Kingston's out for a while, isn't he? He's got a hernia injury.
Oh, I didn't even realise this.
So he's going to pull out a few bookings coming up and things like that. He's going to be over here at the on Progress next on Sunday, but he's going to pull out that. A couple of other things going on, and yeah, so hopefully he'll be a bit better. But if you've seen some of the, I don't know if you watched Super Bowl of Honor, Ring of Honor's show Mania weekend, that was a pretty strong show.
Do you know, I didn't actually see it. I've seen stuff from it. What was any particular highlights or stuff from it?
Oh, we opened with Commander again versus Vikingo for the AAA Mega title. That was just that was off the chain, just bonkers. It was.
Oh my god! Yeah, I was going to say there was that terrible injury at that show, wasn't there?
Oh yes, with Dante Martin.
Yeah.
That was horrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
All sorts of bad there. So we haven't really heard much about him in the last couple of weeks. So I hope he's all right, but as good as he can be. But yeah, that's just top flight seems to be just cursed. Darius injured twice, now Dante's out, and it's just
yeah. Well, it's just it's not worth that. That would have been a cool spot, if they'd
just done the fear factor rather than the flip pile driver.
Yeah.
I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but just think you're in that position. Is the destroyer really the one you go for in this one, or do you want to go for a little bit safer in that respect, or maybe they just thought I don't know. But
it's just a weird thing. You get the pop in the moment. You get the pop in the moment, but I think even if that had gone flawless, I think it's remembered now because of the injury, rather than if it had gone right.
Yeah. It's the problem though when you do these matches so often that a lot of things just blur into one. I can't. Like I said, I hadn't even remembered some of the matches that happened to you.
Well, it was like we were mentioning about Jay White earlier, and I was like, Jay White coming out on Dynamite, and again, he was against Commander. I feel like I'm saying it sarcastic. Commander, right? Well, I need to hear it, because I thought they said Commander, but anyway, Commander, right? It's just so these the standard of wrestling now is that so many people can do things which 20 years ago we were saying, oh my god, there's this Rob Van Dam, he's like Jeff Hardy, imagine those two against each other. Oh, there's an AJ Styles, he's like the next Jeff Hardy. But now there's so many of them. there's a Ricochet, there's Kenny Omega. Then you'll be like, oh, and there's so many guys that have like filtered through like New Japan Pro Wrestling or Ring of Honor when it was still Ring of Honor and stuff like this. And then then you got like lots of this discussion of, oh, is this person like the next Rey Mysterio and stuff like this? And it's like there are so many people that can do all of these things now that I feel like then you have someone like MJF, who is like, he isn't any of those things, and yet he's the main event. And I think there's like such a lesson to learn from, like, if you've got the character, if you've got like the personality, and then MJF is a really good wrestler, but he's not doing like Dante Martin and like twisting his ankle off on live pay-per-view.
No, there's obviously something to be said about that, but I think when you're in a time when the independent style is so revered by those who love it so much that they want to see that on TV or on pay-per-view a bit more regularly, and there's still places for that, but you do have to sort of realise that they are running a television product. I guess there's got to be a certain amount of storyline stuff in there. Having said that, I don't really like the idea of going back to Dynamite, the opening segment. I don't really like the idea of the opening segment setting up the main event. I think I quite like the fact that Dynamite sort of has the main event sort of pre-booked and pre-arranged and publicised before we get to that show. Even though arguably it wasn't a particularly great match, but at least you knew. Like last week, the main event was Keith Lee versus Chris Jericho. The main event previous week or previous weeks ago was Big Kingo versus Kenny Omega, or and so on and so forth. You sort of had that. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing. Like for so many years, like with WWE, it would be like the first 15 minutes of the show, you'll find out what the main event's going to be. In this very ring tonight.
Yeah. Or obviously the classic thing, the Teddy Long thing of there's something going on and it's like someone's going to run out. It's like, well, tonight there's going to be a tag team match with all of you guys in. And
go one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah.
There are just some things that they need to sort of keep on top of, and I think I just hope that Tony's not... He needs to sort of, segregate or pass on some of the booking responsibility to other people, and
what do you make the?
Put everything on top of him, because if he's doing that and he's also booking Dark, and he's also booking Dark Elevation, he's also booking Rampage, he's also booking Ring of Honor. It's like.
Well, what do you make of this collision thing?
The Ring of Honor tapings. Sorry, I have to say this right out. The Ring of Honor tapings just look like a bunch of AEW Dark Elevation tapings anyway. Yeah. Because they're just putting out match after match after match after match, and I haven't seen any Ring of Honor stuff, but I've seen some of the listings of the matches that have been on the show, and I've previously sort of like seen the taping reports and things like that, and read about that, and there's like 10, 12, 16 matches on one night. And I thought, at least it'll be like maybe that's just like they'll be quartered and put into like 1 hour shows. No, they're putting on these ROH shows. They're putting on 9 or 10 matches every episode.
Yeah,
it's like that's too many.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's like the overcorrection from, obviously for years it's been like WWE will be like, oh, it's a 3-hour show and there's 32 minutes of wrestling and that's a good week, and then like AEW it's like, wow, there was 7 matches but it was like an hour and 27 minutes of wrestling in a 2-hour show and stuff like this. And then when there's been like some of the pay-per-views, like even from the early days of AEW, it's like, wow, this is like a 4.5-hour show. And it's not there. Well, there may have been like Double or Nothing or something at the beginning, but then it was like, well, Fyter Fest, and it's 3.5 hours long and stuff like this. But now, apparently, there's going to be AEW Collision, so they say.
Oh, this whole they're going to possibly split the brands or something. Or CM Punk.
Well, yeah, like what is the deal with that again? It's like again, this is one of these news stories which I see a lot, and it doesn't quite even ring true or make sense to me of how that's supposed to make sense, because are they actually going to say to the wrestlers, well, which of you are willing to work with CM Punk? You're going to be on Saturday night, and then that's a huge problem. They can't split a roster that way.
It's and it's going to be very clear who's going to be on what side and who's on what side.
Yeah.
Very, very soon. It's just going to cause problems backstage again, because especially when you have the tapings or the events where they're all going to be coming together under one roof again, and it's like, well, it's just going to be a bit of a toxic background. That goes back to what you were saying earlier about the Darby, Jungle Boy and Guevara promo. They're all just being deeply personal with each other, and I know they're probably running this stuff back with each other backstage and everything before they go out, but it goes back to the whole thing with CM Punk. Page saying something that he wasn't expecting and holding a grudge about it and all that sort of stuff. It's like, how many times are we going to have to go through this again before someone else now holds a grudge about something else? I mean, the thing with Eddie Kingston, starting a fight with Sammy Guevara backstage after Guevara made fun of his weight or something, and this whole atmosphere at the moment of we've got to appeal to those who read the dirt sheets and hear about the rumours of people backstage and everything, and we've got to make sure we appeal to them as well. In fact, if not a bit more that way, because the rumours are out there. Don't worry about your television audience who might not actually live on Twitter and don't necessarily know about this sort of stuff. They just might want to watch some wrestling. Yeah. Some professionals,
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was going to say though is and again, I have seen this. Oh, have I frozen? No, I'm back. Right.
No, you're back.
One of the things which I'm seeing is the obvious thing. Maybe TNT, TBS, or whatever. Maybe they're just not interested in Ring of Honor. But why are you going to do a roster split and another 2-hour show? But you've got a separate promotion that's now going to be a different thing. And so it's 2 hours of Dynamite. From what they say, 2 hours of Collision, an hour of Rampage, however long Dark lasts, however long Dark Elevation lasts, because I think they're different times, basically, depending how much footage they've shot. Then you've got, is it a 1 hour show for Ring of Honor? I don't even know how long that lasts. It can't
16 matches, it's
it can't be 1 hour.
2.5 hour shows.
Yeah, it's there is more wrestling now. And I'm sure I've said this on the show before. If there is too much of something, you end up having the reaction where people I've missed too much, I'm no longer feeling invested in it, I can't watch it anymore. Or I don't watch it anymore. Or I'd like to watch it, but it's impossible to follow because I've missed too much all the time.
Yeah. I literally will watch Rampage if I find there's something I want to watch on it and things like that. So last week I watched DLZ Open Best Friends Tag, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I've watched the Open after the last number of years over here because they've been building up their stuff over here. They've seen them develop, so it's nice to see them doing so well in AEW and in Japan as well, because they just recently won the tag titles there. So that's nice to see them. So I'll watch them. I'll probably watch this week with Vikingo versus whoever it is, because it's Vikingo. So I'll watch something that's spectacular from him. But yeah, I'm not gonna watch it on the other issue they have is that they try and squeeze in just little sound bites or little clips or little promos of things just to carry on the storyline. And it's not massively clear in terms of the whole thing, in terms of the pacing of it.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've had this massive long. So it's an argument again about having too much wrestling on there. You've got this massive long match that's happened, and then suddenly in the 30 seconds straight after we can't digest what's just happened in the ring. We have to go to this 30-second reel to highlight White Swerve and Keith Lee are still feuding, and then move on to the backstage interview where something inevitably happens where someone interrupts an interview, which happens every single time that someone's interviewed on the show.
Yeah.
And still highlight which will promote a match on Rampage. And it's like, hang on, there's so much going on with so little pacing or too much pace going on that it's just all the wrong pace, And I'm not an expert. I can't tell you how to correct that, but just. I don't know, it's just too much of one thing going on, or too much of too many things going on.
Well, for me, is that when AEW first started and they've got a 2-hour show, it's for me it was unmissable. It's I've got to see this. And even when NWA Power started and it was an hour a week or 45 minutes or whatever, I was it's a bit naff, it looks a bit dated and that's the point, but for each week I could watch it. And I was following everything. I was learning who the new wrestlers were and stuff like that. Whereas, and even when they added Rampage, and it's there's buzz around the first week of Rampage, obviously, was Christian winning the Impact title. Next week was Punk's debut. And we were saying at the time, Rampage feels so refreshing. And it feels this 1 hour is something to be excited over and everything like that. But now, if the maths I just did was right, and there's about 16 hours of AEW a week, like the equivalent to that, and I know wrestling is different from a movie or just like a drama, like TV show or something. But it's like if I was away in Belgium for across a week, so if I saw no wrestling, it's like, well, that's like, well, I just missed the last 8 Avengers movies. Or if I was watching EastEnders, for the amount of time it lasted, I just missed the last month of television. It's like, if you have 16 hours a week, that is over half of an entire day. And so asking someone if they then watch WWE as well, that each week you need to commit an entire day to watching wrestling, no one can do that.
Yeah, and not to mention those who want to follow New Japan.
New Japan, Impact.
They want to follow they've got a Fight TV subscription, so they want to find out what happened to the next GCW shows or whatever's happened on there. And if you're following the British Indies, something like that, and you suddenly think, right, well, watch that before I go to see Progress on Sunday, or watch Red Pro next week or something. There is just too much, and you have to pick and choose. It's that simple. I mean, I will pick AEW over the other ones at the moment because I do think it's the more entertaining product. But like I say, too much of anything is bad enough, as the Spice Girls once said.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Dave, we can begin to wrap some stuff up here. I'm going to check to see if there's any breaking news. Let's go on to Wrestling Twitter see if there's any true breaking news. Back in the old days of 2007, you'd go onto a wrestling news website and that's where everything would be. But now they literally all they do is regurgitate whatever's on Twitter. So.
Do you want to check in the latest news, the news desk of the Iron Sheik?
I think we should. Oh yeah, John Morrison had a boxing match the other day. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Some of it's just
where did that come from?
Adam Rose's party posse on steroids, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan bringing up the rear. Had LA Knight, Killer Cross, Scarlett, Taya Valkyrie, and some other people in there. I can't remember who else was there. Josh Barnett, I think, was in the group as well. It was bizarre. Yeah,
but and then he was calling out that guy KSI who was with Logan Paul at Mania.
Oh, about that, yeah.
Ugh. I don't know. Good for him if he's...
Great timing for KSI, that, wasn't it? Because it makes his WWE debut taking a frog splash from that and doing the selfie as it's happening. And the next thing he posts is an apology for some stupid racist stuff he's put on his latest video with the long man.
Wow, what, KSI?
Yeah, it was just he said something stupid in one of their latest videos, and he went off Twitter for a bit. Literally the day after Mania, you think, they brought this guy over in order to try and up their social media.
Yeah,
and that's the best thing he posts.
Yeah, do you know what? I almost on that moment as well. Seth pulled KSI onto that table a split second too early, because to me, Logan looked down and then jumped. And it's well, you can see that there's a big blue bottle that you're about to land on. So
I don't think it got time, so maybe it was a little bit too early. But I think the fact that Logan was sort of almost I think he had his eyes closed and things like that. It's going to be brilliant. Okay, here we go. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I think he just about got away with it. But I know what you mean. It did look at first a bit too early, but.
Yeah. Okay. Iron Sheik is a little bit boring today, I'm afraid. His most recent post is "Happy 420 jabronis." So. That's what we've got. And then Dylan Brooks, how many times you sold out Madison Square Garden, jabroni? I don't know who Dylan Brooks is. If you're on your way to San Jose, you can go F yourself. And what happened to all the jabronis on the earth? I don't know. Yeah.
Not massive breaking news, but Joey Janela apparently is set to come off of the GCW events at the weekend because he's suffered a very bad burn injury.
Oh,
I don't know if this was part of a wrestling match or something like that, but I've seen the picture. It's not pleasant. It's really bad.
Wow. Well, where's it to? Where's the burn to?
His left arm. Apparently, the burn got worse. It must have happened last weekend or something like that. But the burn apparently got worse, and it's on a joint. So the flexibility on his left arm is limited, and he's going to the hospital later on today. So get well, Jojo, I guess.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
I don't know. Right, on that note, Dave, let's begin to wrap things up here. Where can the people find you?
For wrestling-based stuff, if I do actually talk about it, because I don't really a lot anymore. But my social media is at Degrino, and I will plug more of my improv-based stuff in Extreme coming up in half an hour.
Fab. My name is David Postanski. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at David Postanski. Check out everything on Slam Jam Wrestling Show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all these kinds of stuff. And with that, until next time, ciao for now. Boom. I would say we're off the air, but I've got Joey Janela's burn up on the screen, so